Hello and welcome to the SciFirst MovieTalk episode. So in this episode, I'm discussing the classic 1946 seasonal fantasy drama, It's a Wonderful Life, as directed by Frank Capra and as based upon the short story The Greatest Gift by Philip Van Doren Stern. The film and the original story is sort of kind of a riff on the 43 Charles Dickens novel A Christmas Carol, but rather than taking the point of view of the film from a mean old miser, it opts to turn this on its head and examine the story if focused on somebody who did nothing but good in their life, yet somehow always seemed to find themselves down on their luck. Reaching to that point of despair, being worth more dead than alive, only to be shown what life would have been like without them if they had never, ever even been born. Certainly an interesting and intriguing kind of slant. On one pinnacle Christmas Eve, the townsfolk of Bedford Falls are heard praying almost as one voice for a miracle to save the life of one George Bailey, who has completely hit rock bottom after striving for years to keep his family's legacy alive and to stop the last remnants of the town from falling into the clutches of a greedy old miser known as Henry E. Potter, as played by Lionel Barrymore. We follow George Bailey, as initially played by Bobby Anderson, from being a young boy full of dreams and aspirations through many early defining moments in his life, from saving his brother Harry from drowning in an ice-covered lake but losing the hearing in his left ear as a consequence, to kind of saving the town's pharmacist from making a grave error. As we travel through George's life and the moments that led him to despair, we see him try and fail over and over to leave the town of Bedford Falls behind, but in the process marry the beautiful and ever-committed Mary Hatch, as played by Donna Reed, raise 4 wonderful children, Jeanine, Zuzu, Pete and Tommy, whilst also becoming the linchpin and saviour of the town for many of its inhabitants against the thrift and ruthlessness of Potter. With the weight of the town on his shoulders, quite literally, it becomes up to Clarence Oddbody, as played by Henry Travers, his guardian angel, second class, to show him and remind him what life would have been like in Bedford Falls if indeed he'd never been born. How the events of his life affected and shaped those around him, in the hope that it stops George from doing something which would reverberate and hit all of those he loves so much, and indeed show him how much value is really placed on a life by those you touch the hearts of along the way. So, It's a Wonderful Life, like so now many other classic now movies, didn't seem to resonate all that well with audiences at the time of its initial release, but today is considered a truly remarkable movie by many, an iconic classic of its time, and indeed most certainly a warm and sentimental Christmas staple for many, I'm sure. Interestingly, the film isn't in the main outwardly festive in nature at all. The majority of the movie takes place over the course of George's life at varying points, and not always during the festive season. Of course, the main setup of the movie's edge is set at Christmas, when George feels his lowest, and indeed on Christmas Eve, no less. So certainly festive by nature, but ultimately, moreover than being a festive film through and through, what this is, more than anything, is a study of one man's life, his aspirations, trials, tribulations and heartbreak that are so brought to the forefront over the festive season. It's actually another film that serves to examine some of the tragedy of the season, when for many, instead of the feeling of joy and jubilations of the season kind of dictates, it can exuberate feelings of loneliness and desperation and depression. And even more so when all those around you seem somewhat oblivious, giving the season's greetings, you know? The film certainly carries a heavy heart and a heavy burden. It can be quite a harsh movie at times, abrasive even. We feel the weight of a town being piled onto George's shoulders at every turn, with seemingly little in the way of reward. In this respect, it is a very commanding movie, but also cleverly filled with as many light moments and comedy as it is emotionally powerful and resonating messages. It's a totally heartwarming story that's both depressing and quintessentially charmingly upbeat at the same time. Not many films I know can actually affect your own disposition and energy in quite the same way. Certain moments are innocuous enough and then become so powerfully emotive that brings such a kind of delicate balance of sentimental comedy, romance and drama with a real kind of sincerity about it. Stewart has the most charismatic energy that he brings to the role of George that keeps you captivated. He simply brings the character to life, and you can't help but be kind of enamoured with his caring, selfless acts, and the feel that heartbreak as life deals him blow after blow, yet still striving to do the right thing. In fact, both Stewart and Reed have an instantly likeable charm that makes you fall in love with them over and over again upon each viewing. Plenty of old school charm and some sweetly placed romantic interludes which make these characters believably human. All this balanced against Barrymore's delectably despicable villain, sinister and conniving to a point, and with a kind of unrelenting vendetta against the Baileys, especially George, who he comes to kind of see as a true adversary, stooping to new depths of despicability to get what he wants. The film is long. That's probably my main grievance. Sometimes you do kind of find yourself kind of tailing off, especially during the mid-section. Whether or not all of the story was totally essential, I'm not sure, but many of the elements admittedly do speak to George's final frame of mind and link kind of seamlessly into pivotal points within the alternative reality Clarence shows George to kind of get him to see how moments in his life and the decisions he's made affected the whole town. Overall, It's a Wonderful Life brings together a wonderful cast and a captivating story about life, love, loss, aspirations and tribulations, and how the actions of one person can affect so many throughout our lives, with even the seemingly smallest of gestures making a distinct impact, even if not so obvious at first. As we travel through George's life, we see how piece by piece he got trapped in Bedford Falls, yet his generosity continued through it all, knowing no bounds. A testament to his character, bringing the movie a homely and distinctively captivating quality that is as deeply moving as it is optimistically upbeat, giving us a full range of emotions as George's story plays out. And charismatically played by Stewart, I might add, with the brilliant exuberance and energy he brings to the role. It's a film that carries its heart on its sleeve with a heavy burden, yet still delightfully playful, indeed very much an ode to life, or in fact the ode to the life we live, and the impact we all have on each other as we just kind of try to get through the day-to-day. So, that brings me to the end of this episode. Many thanks for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please do leave a like. Please do hit that subscribe button for more movie reviews, trailer reactions and other movie-related content. Absolutely loved having you at SciFirst MovieTalk and definitely love to have you back. Most of all, just thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.